Hi, I'm Jake from TradeLab.ai. Today, I'm going to set up a new strategy here in TradeLab using a strategy that I found on TradingView. So to get started, I'm going to go to Community Strategies, and I'm going to scroll down until I find the generic TradingView template. And this is a good place to start. So I'm going to copy this and press yes. And it's going to copy over to my strategies. And now I can click edit. I'll hit skip for the strategy setup because I'm going to create my own strategy. And we'll go ahead and take a look at the strategy that I want to set up. So here in TradingView, this is the JaZYoN Bot that I'm going to be targeting today. This is made by a familiar face. This gentleman makes quite a few TradingView strategies, and this particular one is a paid strategy. You can get access to it by contacting him via Discord. Right here, if you click on the details of the strategy, you can find it here. So all you need to do is search JaZYoN and it'll pop up. I'm going to be using the alerts version, not the strategy version. Strategies are easier to set up in TradeLab. However, we can also set up alert indicators. So if we click on this, it'll add it to our TradingView chart. I actually don't have access to this at the moment, but I do know what it looks like, so we're going to set it up together. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is go back to TradeLab, and we're going to go to the Alerts tab. So we need to set up our alerts. If we take a look at a screenshot that I was sent, we can see that we have 12 alerts. So we have long and short alerts. So this LX1 is 1 times up to 4 times the order size. So this would be 25%, 50%, 75%, and 100%, right, of the amount that you want to trade. Then we have take profit 1 and 2, and we have the same thing for short. Okay, so we're going to set up these alerts. All we have to do is edit this first one, and I'm going to call this JaZYoN Bot. And I'm going to go ahead and create a new template for it. And I'll name this one LX1. We'll create a new TradingView alert and use the settings below. We'll select the JaZYoN Bot. And then select the LX1. So then I can make sure that it's once per bar. And that'll look like if we come over here and we start creating a new strategy, we need to do once per bar right here, right? So that's what that means. And this is just setting up instructions so that when other people copy this, it'll be easy for them. All right. What we want to do here is we don't need a market position. I just want a type, and I'll set this to LX1 for the type. I'll make this dynamic on the symbol. So this will work with any symbol, and we have our LX1 alert there. So we'll hit save, and we need 3 more of the L's. So we'll do copy, copy, copy. And I'll go ahead and edit these to be LX2, LX2, and LX2. Save that. And I'm going to continue to do this for the other ones. All right, wonderful. So now we have those. I need to create my shorts that are the same way. So I'm going to copy LX1. I'm going to name it SX1. And change the fields. Press save. Now I have SX1. And now I'm going to copy this 3 more times and create my 2, 3, and 4. So pretty simple so far. the next thing we're going to do is create our alerts for our take profit. Okay, so we'll create another alert. I'll just go ahead and clone this one. And here, this is going to be our long take profit 1. And I believe it was called long 1 TP. Select the long 1 TP. Okay. And here we're going to go LTP1. Okay, and I'm just making these up. This is just something that we're going to use later. You'll see in a second, but each of these is getting its own type. And I'm just doing like LTP or LX1, whatever. And we're going to use these in the rules here in a second so that we can tell what alert is sent. So this is basically the name of the alert as far as the alert is concerned with TradeLab, right? So we'll hit save. Now we have long TP. We'll just make one more for long TP2 and make sure it has a unique type. And then we're going to copy this again. We'll do short TP1, short TP1, and STP1. Okay. And one more, last one. So this is our short TP2, and STP2. So now go ahead and go back to edit. What we'll do now is create our rules. So we have the basic rules from the template. These rules are more set up for strategy, so we're going to go ahead and change these. I'll use the rule that I have already and I'll just edit this. So I'll call this LX1, and we're just going to set up a rule for every alert that we have. So this rule is going to look for the correct symbol. We're going to match our symbol, and then we're going to look for that type. Remember I was typing in that type? So here I typed in LX1 for the type, and that's going to match the alert that we created earlier over here, the LX1 alert. If I look at this, its type is LX1. So that's how we match these up. So we have the LX1 rule. It's looking for the LX1 alert. I don't need this. And we're going to make sure that the strategy side is set to long. So we're going to do a long. And then we're going to go ahead and place an order. Okay. So now we're going to set up the amount. So this L, X1, X2, X3, X4, that determines how much we actually want to place. And so X1 would be 25%, then 50, then 75, then 100. So in order to do that, we would normally set our amount type up here. So say I wanted to set an amount type, or sorry, our amount of say $50, right? And let's say I actually wanted to do 100 to make it simple. So if I would do X1, I want it to be $25. So in order to do this, normally we would set our amount here. But instead of setting it here, what we're going to do is we're going to go to variables, and we're going to create a variable, and this is going to be called total amount. Okay, so our total amount, this is going to be a number, and this is up to you on how you want to set it. So I'm going to set this at say 5, and instead of using USD as an amount type, I'm going to set this to percentage, right? So I could use USD as an amount type, and then maybe here instead of 5, I would type in 500, and that would be $500 that I, at max 100% that I want to use, right? So this is my 100% number. I am going to use percentage, so this is going to be 5%. And so when I do, actually here, to make it easy, I'll do 4%, right? So I'm going to use 4% of my balance, and at X1, it's only going to do 1% of my balance, right? So that's an easy way to think about it. I have percentage set for this trade amount. This trade amount isn't really going to matter. You can set it to whatever you want or just leave it alone, because we're actually going to change that with these rules. So with TradeLab, we're able to change all these settings in trade settings on the fly, right? So right before we place our order, we can run our rule and decide how much we want to trade, and we'll actually change the trade amount on the fly. So that's what we'll do right now. So if I have a rule that's looking for my X1 alert, making sure that it matches the symbol of what I got selected here, and I can select my symbol up here. Maybe I'll select ADA, right? So I have ADA selected. It's going to make sure that the alert is set for ADA, and then I'm going to do my LX1 alert. Okay, I'm going to set my side to long, and I'm also going to create a new one, and we're going to set our strategy amount, our trade amount. Remember, we saw trade amount up here. That's what we want to target, right? So we want to set our trade amount to a reference. So I'm going to check the reference box, and I'm going to make that match my strategy variable total amount. Remember that variable that I made that was 4? I named it total amount. Well, that's what I'm doing right here. So we're going to make trade amount equal total amount. And so now trade amount is going to be 4%. Now I'm doing X1, right? So I only want it to be 1 instead of 4. That means I got to multiply. If I take my multiply here, I can multiply my trade amount by 0.25, and that would be 25%, right? And so now my trade amount gets set to 4, it gets multiplied by 25%, and that sets the 4 to a 1, and now we have a trade amount of 1%. Okay, and it's not necessary, but I always like to put these in order, so I like place order to be at the bottom. So I'll just order these. These do run in order. Place order should always be at the bottom. However, if you ever make a mistake and don't put it at the bottom, I'll do that for you on the back end, so you don't have to worry about it. But just to note that these do run in order, right? So this is going to set, and then we're going to multiply, right? So when it comes to math, the order is sometimes important. Okay, so now we have this all set up, and we have it set up for LX1. So I'm now going to delete my other rule, and I'll just copy this again. So now I have LX1, and I'll have LX2 here. And for LX2, I just need to set this to LX2. And then instead of 25%, we want to do 50%. And that's all we need to do there. We'll hit clone a couple more times. And now I'll have LX2, I'll have LX3, and I'll have LX4. Okay. And each of these is getting its own amount multiplier, and it's its own alert, so that they can fire independently from one another. And on this one, I actually don't need to multiply it by 1, right? That would be kind of silly, so I'll just delete this. You could multiply it by 1, doesn't really matter, but I'll just delete it to make it simple. So there we go. So we have LX1, 2, 3, and 4. And now, if you guessed it, we need to do this all again for the short. So let's go ahead and hit clone. I'll do it down here. I'll hit clone 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, get rid of that. And we'll go LX1. Instead, it's going to be SX1. This is going to be SX2. This is going to be SX1 and SX2. So for here, we're going to make sure that we set our side to be short or sell. And because I I got to add my multiplier again because I copied the one that didn't have the multiplier. Shame on me. So actually, I'm going to delete this one, and I'll recopy this one once I fix this. So I'll just come here and I'll say trade amount, and we want to multiply it by 0.25. Okay, so that's good for SX1. Now we're going to copy, and now we have SX2 and SX2. And this one's going to be multiplied by 50%. And then we have SX3 and SX4. SX3 and SX4. These are all sell short. This one's going to be 75%. And this one I can delete because once again, it's 100%. Don't need to multiply it by 1. All right. So now we have all of the entry rules set up. Now we're going to receive alerts while a trade is running, and those alerts are going to be for our take profit. The way that TradeLab works is it has entry and exit rules. So it runs the blue rules when we're looking for a trade, when a trade is not open. Once it's found a trade and it says, okay, I want to place an order, then it switches states and it goes into a looking for exit state. It no longer runs the blue rules, it runs the orange rules. And over here, we can make it do different things when it's in a trade. So for example, I would need to look for my long TP1. I wouldn't need to do this while I'm looking for a trade, obviously, but when I'm in a trade, I need to run this different rule. So here, I'm going to do symbol equals symbol, make sure that we're looking for the right symbol. If I'm sending different alerts for different symbols, this is important, right? So that we make sure that I get the right symbol. And the reason that I don't do this for you by default, like, yes, I know that you selected a symbol up here, but there's a possibility that you might be doing a Ethereum strategy and you might want to listen to a alert for BTC. And you can do that. You would just say symbol equals BTC instead of the symbol that I'm on. So it's flexible in that way, but you do have to make sure that you do symbol equals symbol for the most part. So we got long TP. We're going to do our LTP1 for our custom alert. And I don't need this one. For this one, I need to take a certain amount. So I believe we're taking 50%. I'm gonna set it up to 50% for the long TP1. And so whenever we hit our long TP, instead of closing an order, I want to decrease my position. So this is taking away from my position. I want to do 50% of the position. And that's all we really need to do. So now our long TP1, when we hear that, we'll decrease it by 50%. Okay. And now we're going to copy or clone this, and we'll make it long TP2. And this one will also decrease by 50%. I believe he said that he wanted the target point at 0.9 and 17. However, those I believe are going to be set in the strategy itself, since we're getting alerts from there. If you do want to set up your own long and short take profits, you can come into the TPSL line builder and make your own lines that will send directly to the exchange. Then we don't have to listen for alerts, and you can set up your own percentages or whatever you want from there. So that's also possible. Today, I'm going to just use the take profit that they're sending. So I'm going to actually remove these lines that I had by default from the template. Just use these alerts, and I'm going to decrease my position whenever I hear them. Okay, so I will go ahead and clone this 2 more times. And this one's going to be my short TP. And we got STP1 and STP2. Make sure that we did correct LTP2 there. Okay, so we're good to go. So that is a setup of this new strategy, the JaZYoN strategy, JaZYoN Bot. Okay, and this will be available publicly. I'll go ahead and share this. And last things that you may not know. So we already got our trade amount set. So you want to set your trade amount in your variable, right? So if you want to set the maximum amount that you want to trade, you come in here and you set this. So you hit edit and you'll modify that. Okay. Again, I have it set up to trade percentage right now. If you wanted to trade just a straight US dollar amount, you could say USD, and then you could come in here and change this number, right? So I'll set this back to percentage. Order type, you can do limit or market. If you do limit, you probably want a time in force of good till cancel, but we also have immediate or cancel, fill or kill, or post only. If you're doing good till cancel with a limit order, you'll need some kind of limit timeout, most likely. So we have hours, minutes, and seconds here. You can set a custom limit timeout. You can also have a limit offset. So if you want to place your limit order a little bit offset from the current price, you can do positive or negative here. You can either do that with percentages, a direct USD amount, or you can use USD exact price and put in an exact price that you want to use. Typing in an exact price here probably isn't very useful because it'll change often. So unless you're coming in here and manually changing this every time, that's not going to be helpful. But this is helpful, the USD exact price, if we're using the rules to take in information from TradingView and set this up with the number that TradingView is giving us for a limit order price, right? So that's totally possible. All right, well, I won't get into too much more. That's the basics of setting this up. I'm going to create a quick video on how to set this up from the template. It'll be much, much simpler. You'll just follow instructions. But this has been an example of how to set up a strategy from scratch using a TradingView indicator, using 12 different alerts. And yeah, so we'll go ahead and hit save and exit. And just to wrap this up and show you what this looks like, now that we've created this, I can go into the community strategies. I can scroll down to the JaZYoN Bot, and I can copy this. It'll create me a new JaZYoN Bot. And if I hit edit on this, it will ask me to set up 13 different steps for my alerts. So if I click do it now, it'll ask me for my exchange. I'll set up my exchange and then my symbol. I'll hit continue, and now it has all the different alerts that I need. So, and actually it has one extra. I need to delete that. So these are all of the alerts. So you can click on each one. It gives you the instructions that we wrote out, and you can click on this and it copies it. And then the idea is you just come in here, paste it in there, and you're good to go, right? So you would create one for each, go through, and once you're done with that, you would just fill in your trade amount. Actually, you would need to come into the variables and fill it in. And in fact, let's talk about that. So I want to go back to my strategies. So let's do one more thing. I'm going to delete the JaZYoN Bot that I copied. Okay, I don't need that one anymore. So this is the original one. And I knew that because it says shared right here. So this is the original one. And what I want to do is this total amount, I need this to be editable, right? So in fact, I want this to be my max trade amount. And I'll set this to 4. I'm going to make this be show in setup. And you'll see what that does in a minute. This is going to show in that setup screen. And actually, I'm going to make this read-only as well. The idea of read-only is that this makes it so that the rules cannot change the value, right? And actually, I'm going to add a description here to say this is the max amount to use for trade X4 equals max trade amount X1 equals 25% of max trade amount. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. The read-only, what that does is it's making sure that these rules can never edit that, right? So I can take this and I can say my max trade amount, right? Max trade amount. Okay, and I can get it to set there. But if I wanted to change a strategy variable and come into here, nothing will show up because I made that read-only. If I uncheck read-only, it'll show up in here. But the idea of read-only is that rules can't change that variable, right? So I'm just going to run through here real quick. By changing that, I do need to go back through and edit all of these to make sure. But I'm glad that I did that because I'll show you in a minute. Okay, so that's done. So I save and exit. I go back to community strategies. I go back down to the JaZYoN Bot, and I copy it. Okay, so this is the new one. I click edit, and now it's going to ask me to set up the strategy. I hit do it now, and now it's going to ask me for my max trade amount. So I can actually put in my trade amount right here as I'm setting up my strategy. That means that when you're creating a strategy and you're getting people to follow instructions and everything, instead of having them go into the variables and edit stuff to set it up, you can check this show and setup box. If I hit edit, I just check that box, and that makes it show up in the setup screen so that they don't have to go into the variables and muck around there. Okay, so I just wanted to show you that. That's about it. That's how you set up a new strategy. If you have any questions, please feel free to join us on Discord, or you can go down to the bottom right with this help button. You can search for any questions you have or create a support ticket to ask questions directly. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more updates and have a good one.